From the top of the town at 715 Main Street in historic Deadwood, it's time for another episode of the DTC Blow and Smoke Podcast.
I'm all kinds of bad when I drop on the beat. Taking down my hair, got your eyes on me. You need it, you want it, but can you handle this? This lollipop is poppin', 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 pop. This lollipop is
Hello, welcome to episode 57 of the DTC Blow and Smoke Podcast. I'm your host, Candy Randy. Over there behind the board, mixing and mastering, is the preacher, Ethan. We're missing one guest today because we'll talk about it later in the podcast. Our website went live, which is awesome because we've needed a new website for months and months and months. Ethan designed all of the pretty pictures and all the icons and all that stuff. Well, it kind of went live with just a whole bunch of shit on there that we don't need. So we're fixing it. It's been the story of 3 podcasts. When's the website coming? So we'll get to details about that later. But first, let me introduce to you the man of the hour. We'll get to some questions and we'll learn a little bit more about no longer Dirty Fabien. Everybody from Aganorsa Leaf, it is Fabien Ziegler. Good morning.
Fabien.
Howdy there. Howdy. How you doing?
Well, I guess afternoon. You are, as you can tell from the beautiful background, in Miami, correct?
I am in Miami, yeah. I was actually in Nicaragua at the factory all week, and I literally just flew in, landed about 90 minutes ago, and, now I'm here. Braving the elements. I mean, it's 98 degrees, 97 degrees, 98% humidity. So, it is what it is. But that's what you got to do when you smoke cigars here in your house, your place.
Well, and we would give you shit, but it's actually about 74 and beautiful sunny here. So we're good with it. We'll take it.
Oh, all right. Okay.
All right. So the good news is the stuff that we have carried so far from Aganorsa Leaf is incredibly popular. We're doing really well with it. So well, in fact, that I don't have any on the shelf as we're recording this. We've got a bunch coming, as you know. So we'll start where we always do with what are we smoking? Ethan, you can go first.
You know what? We are still waiting for the Aganorsa product to show up. So I selected a Cohiba that I'm actually unfamiliar with, purple line, and I'm drawing a blank because we had last minute preparation. So that's what I'm smoking. It's a Maduro.
Very good.
Yeah.
And then before Ethan chose his, I also went with the Cohiba Blue Dot. We've started to carry just a little bit more of what we would call the heritage Cuban names from General Cigar. Doesn't really matter for you guys out there. However, we have a good friend of the shop who is now with that company, so you'll see a little bit more of that. But then the important one, Fabien, what are you smoking?
I am actually smoking the new Cuba Superior.
We are familiar. There it is.
There it is.
Look at that.
The new Cuba Superior, and this is a cigar that comes in 4 sizes. I'm actually smoking the Robusto size. It comes in a Corona, Robusto, Toro, and a 6x60. Now, I'll let you guys describe your Cohibas and all that first, and then I'll describe my new Cuba because it's like dessert, right? So start with the main entree, the appetizer, and the main entree, and then I'll finish it up. I'll bring it home with a nice little sweet note.
Okay, perfect. Because I'll start with mine. It's going to be really short. I just grabbed it because I hadn't had one in a long time. That's it. Next.
Man, that's like ordering a salad and just getting lettuce.
Yep. Pretty much.
Okay.
So the Cohiba Riviera.
There you go. See?
It's actually, man, it is really chocolatey. It's got that natural sweet note. I'm really liking my first puffs on this. So I apologize. I would be smoking an Aganorsa because I love them. We just didn't have anything for me to smoke right now, but they're on their way.
That's a good problem to have. So as you know, Fabien, typically we've been carrying the Anniversario edition. All 3, the Corojo, the Maduro, the Connecticut, the new Cuba Superior flies off of our shelf, which is a wonderful problem to have. And we'll fix that when you're here this weekend. Fill us in on the new Cuba that you're smoking.
Okay, so what this is right here, it literally. Okay, so let me take a step back, right? So before, a lot of people in Deadwood may have known me as Dirty Fabien, like you had said, and that was in my prior life at Drew, when I worked for Drew Estate for 19 years. And last year, it will be actually literally 51. When I see you guys in Deadwood, it will literally be 51 weeks that I will be on the job with Aganorsa. In a sense, because I started with Aganorsa June 25th of last year. And right when I started, they flew me down to the factory and they're like, we need you to make us a mild cigar. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to make a mild cigar, I'm going to make a mild cigar my style. and for those of you guys who don't necessarily know my style, well, there was another little brand that I helped create with Deadwood Tobacco called Sweet Jane. So my style is sweet, right? So first of all, New Cuba Superior. So it is a Nicaraguan filler and Nicaraguan binder, and it has an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper. All right, it is mild. It's a very mild cigar, but because it has Nicaraguan filler, you do start getting a little bit of the earthy tones that you do get from Nicaraguan tobacco, with an occasional little dose of little spice, but very, very smooth. And what we did is we actually put a little sweet tip on a little sweetness on the tip when we put the cap on. So the sweetness is on your lips, in your palate, and then you're actually going to get a lot of the tobacco flavor. So to my knowledge, and you guys are around a lot more cigars than I am, even though I'm probably around more Aganorsa cigars than you guys are, but you have a bigger variety of cigars. This is the first sweet tip Nicaraguan cigar. All the other ones that come to my mind are all Dominican or Honduran.
Nice.
I believe you are correct. We have carried a couple of the Hondurans that I know. So just to clarify, it's got a sweetened cap on it, but the tobacco is completely natural without any added process.
Yes.
Yep. No infusion, nothing like that. Yep.
And Fabien, you had a hand in...
So there's two reasons. There's two reasons for it, right? So here's the thing. First of all, in the whole Aganorsa portfolio, there wasn't necessarily a mild cigar in there. So we had the JFR Connecticut, and we had also the Connecticut Aniversario, which is doing really, really good, is not a mild cigar. It's a medium body cigar. So we didn't really have mild cigars. So in a sense, to create or capture new cigar smokers into the Aganorsa family, we needed to create a mild cigar. And again, because I created it, I had to put my little twist to it. Sure. And it has a little bit of sweetness. Now, it's not like a Sweet Jane or a Acid or Tatiana. You do get sweetness, but the overwhelming flavor is tobacco. So in a sense, it's for all those people who have been smoking the non-traditionals, the flavored cigars, and who want to go into the traditional aspect, but they don't necessarily want to dive in the deep end. Then they grab a New Cuba. They get that sweetness that they're familiar with, but then they also start understanding what Nicaraguan tobacco is. And at the end of the day, Nicaraguan tobacco is the largest grower, largest importer or exporter, however you look at it, of tobacco in the world. So,
And when we sell that in the humidor, the one way we refer to it, and tell me if this is how Aganorsa or you would like it, we call it a transitional cigar. For a couple of reasons. Because that's what it is. You can transition someone who is exclusively a sweet smoker, who isn't ready to dive in, and also the cigar transitions because, as you said, you'll get the sweetness on your palate initially, so you'll have that comfort with something that you're familiar with, but then as you get about halfway through, you'll realize that while your palate still has the little bit of the sweetness, all of the tobacco natural flavors are coming through, and you can not be... Intimidated, it's not the right word, because if you're coming in our cigar bar, you're ready to try something fun and new, but to adjust to become someone that can enjoy the entire array of what cigars are available. So is that the phrase you use, transitional?
It's a transitional cigar, yes. No, I mean, it's exactly what that cigar is supposed to be like. So no, that's awesome. Now, one of the things is, when I'm going to be in your store, over the weekend, I'm going to bring a couple of my tobacco leaves, because I just came back from Nicaragua, and I kind of stole pack ratted some tobacco leaves. And I'm gonna have my special level 9 roller here in Miami at our office. Her name is Elizabeth. Phenomenal. She's gonna transform these leaves into what we call little fumas. Okay.
Nice.
So there's gonna be a few. I got my little bag right here. See. So I got my little bag, and as you can see, I have my bag of 98, and then also my bag of 99, and the Corojo 99, Criollo 98, and what we're gonna do is it's a like more of an intimate cigar tasting, because we're actually breaking down a cigar and actually creating a cigar. Because by the time you try each individual leaf and then you try them both together, the question will be posed, what did you like the best? And then whatever your answer tells me, I'm gonna point you towards a cigar in our line that most likely you're gonna really enjoy, because you just told me what you liked. So that's one of those little added bonuses that we do at our events.
And it's going to be nice, because since I've been with the company here a year and a half or so, we haven't had anything like that. That's a great new experience.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to have to come in and try it myself.
All right, put your name on the list, man. You're starting the list.
Nice, perfect.
You don't want to be the caboose on this list, because there might not be enough.
Yep, absolutely. Let's go back in time a little bit. You had mentioned 19 years you were with Drew Estates, and I know that there was a time where you took a little break from the tobacco industry before you dove back in.
Yep.
I think actually it was PCA 23, you had literally just started with Aganorsa. Is that right? About a month beforehand?
So PCA 2023 was last year. I believe the first day was July 7th or July 6th.
Sure.
And I had started with Aganorsa June 26th, June 24th.
So 2 weeks. Yeah. Very good.
So 2 weeks. And even that, like, it was literally I had spent 2 days in the Miami office, because my very first week, my very first minute on Aganorsa payroll, I'm on a plane in Miami heading to Nicaragua, and I spent the first 5 days down in Nicaragua.
That's the way to do it. Awesome. Let's go back.
Came back, I celebrated July 4th, went to the office one day, and then all of a sudden it's like we're at PCA and I'm trying to sell cigars. I had no idea what they were about, so.
I think you did fine. We enjoyed everything we had. Let's go back in time a little bit, and because you've got a long relationship in the tobacco industry and with Deadwood Tobacco Company, tell us about how you first got involved, and tell us about how you and Wild Bill became friends and colleagues.
Man, well, so here's the thing, right? So I started in 2000, and I'll pose a question. I mean, maybe you guys know, because you know a little bit about my history, but all you guys listening and watching, you probably most likely not guess what I did before I got in the cigar industry. So
strip club bouncer.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about applying there, but that would have been a pretty good job. I was undercover security at Disneyland, so I worked at Disneyland.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I had smoked 2 cigars in my life, and it was with my good friend, my college roommate, Ludovic Faxel, French guy, who lived in California, and then he opened up a distribution called JMG International. That's still happening. Then what happened is this was late 90s. He runs into Jonathan Drew and Kurt Van Keppel.
We know those
Kurt
names.
Kurt Van Keppel started Zycar, and so he became a rep for Zycar. And Jonathan Drew started, of course, Drew Estate. So he became the Drew Estate rep. And as the story goes, Ludo meets this French woman, and they fall madly in love. And madly in love, like literally 3 months after they meet, they get married. And then they try to live in Northern California, and she hates it. They try to live in Southern California, and she hates it. And then finally she goes, we've been married for 18 months, but I'm going back to France. So you're either coming back with me or we're getting divorced. So of course love prevails.
Yes.
So he goes back to France with her, which funny enough, or not funny enough, or maybe it's more ironic. They actually ultimately got divorced like 4 years ago, but that's beside the point.
That's a good run though. That's a good run.
Yeah. It's almost 20 years, so whatever. But So on his way out, he goes, "Hey, I spoke to Kurt and I spoke to Jonathan, and they want to hire you." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. Like, dude, I don't know how to sell. Like, I'm catching people vandalizing and stealing and having sex in the bushes and doing random bad things in the happiest place on earth. How do they want? What do they want with me?" And then Ludo's like, "No, man, you got the personality. You could do it." Oh, okay, all right. So I put in my 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden I become the Drew Estate and Zycar rep. And then here we go. This was 2000, and in 2000 there was 7 accounts for Drew Estate, and one of the accounts, which was started back in 1999, was the very first account west of the Mississippi that signed on with Drew Estate with acid, and that was Boyd's Tobacco in Paso Robles.
Okay, and that name should be familiar with. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I pick up the line, they're like, "Okay, we have these 7 accounts. We're sure we can open up more accounts, but don't mess up these 7 accounts because they're very important." So I started going to Paso Robles. It was about 3.5-4 hour drive from my house because I lived in Orange County, and Paso Robles is literally in the middle of nowhere in the central California. It's right on the coast. It's either 3.5 hours north of LA or 3.5 hours south of San Jose. So there's no easy way of getting there. It's also a very good wine region for all you California wine drinkers. A lot of grapes are actually grown in Paso Robles and then picked and then brought up to Napa to make beautiful Napa wines. So yeah, I mean that kind of shenanigans that happens in the wine industry just as much as it happens in the Nicaragua in the tobacco industry, right? So I digress. But anyways, the owners of that store were John and Vaughn Boyd, and John was a big Harley Davidson guy. They used to go to the Sturgis bike rally every year. As you know, some of you guys listening from California or watching from California, you kind of see that California government isn't necessarily the greatest. They implement higher taxes. They implement stricter rules for smoking. And in late 2005, John's like, "I've had it with these taxes in the government. We're going to move." And then they realized that by all their trips to Sturgis, there was not necessarily a cigar store in Sturgis. So in 2006, they sell their store, Boyd's Tobacco, and then they buy or they rent out the basement of the Oyster Bay in Deadwood. And John, as a carpenter by trade, builds out the whole store. So they literally opened the weekend of July 4th, 2006.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
and
they just barely got 1 employee, so it was the 3 of them. And I mean, I've never been to July 4th, but it's probably busy.
It is a little bit. Yep.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So then they're Sturgis approaches very quickly. It's like literally a month later. So they contact me and they're like, "Hey, can you come out and do events?" And I'm like, "Sorry guys, I'm not your rep." But I call the office, and the office is like, "Well, we don't have a rep in South Dakota, so you can be their rep, and you know them, and this is not whatever. As long as they order Drew Estate cigars, then go do an event." So then I call back John and Vaughn. They're like, "Oh, of course, we'll place an order. Can you stay here for 10 days? And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "I'll start with like 5, but that's a pretty big order." "No, you're gonna sell." So my very first time was Sturgis in 2006. It went well. We sold a whole bunch of stuff, this and that, whatever. Then you fast forward to 2007, and again, I come out there. They order cigars, this and that, whatever. And at that time, I used to stay at Vaughn's house because hotel rooms were, if you could find one, were very expensive for what you got. And Drew Estate was still very small, so the expense report was, couldn't get past a certain level.
Yep.
But one night, and these were long days, man. I mean, you used to get into the store anywhere between 9 and 10 a.m.
Yep.
And you used to leave the store like past midnight, right?
Sure.
So then one night we're back at the house, and we're making a little dinner or whatever. And then I had this idea of, "Hey Vaughn, we should make a cigar for you that gives a reason for people to come back and whether they come back through your website or they come back physically to buy it, and you can only buy it." And literally in 2008, that's when Drew Estate made Sweet Jane, and then it came on. Now, How did I meet Wild Bill? Well, so ever since the beginning, Vaughn always had Drew Estate and myself as a focus brand in Sturgis.
Sure.
But during that time, there wasn't really too many traditional cigars. So I was out there selling the blondies and the earthiness and the naturals and all that stuff. And we didn't really have traditional cigars. So Bill was the rep for Ashton.
Yep. And
he had like 19 states. I kid. I mean, I think it's only 8 states or whatever. But he had a very large territory that no one wanted. He had like the band of misfit states that no one wanted. That was his territory.
Yeah, that fits in pretty well. Yeah, that sounds like Bill. Yeah.
So then he weasels his way into like, hey, well, Drew Estate has non-traditional, Ashton has traditional. So then all of a sudden, now at Sturgis, here I am, I'm showing up, and then here's this like little cocky Marine dude, showing up and whatnot. The funny thing is, the first 3 times I met Bill were at Sturgis.
Oh, sure.
So when I met him outside of Sturgis the first time, 3.5 years later at the PCA, I didn't even recognize him because there was a PCA and he had a suit on, and he's not wearing a suit. Deadwood Tobacco,
No.
So I mean, and his personality is completely different at Deadwood Tobacco back then than it was when he was an Ashton rep. So it was very cool. And then what I was noticing is, he was selling a lot more acids and Sweet Janes and naturals than he was Ashtons, because the majority of the people coming in there are asking for sweet cigars,
sure.
and Ashton didn't have any sweet cigars.
Yep.
So I kept telling him, I'm like, listen, we don't have anyone in this territory. You should come work for Drew Estate. You should come work for Drew Estate. And I think it took him like 1.5 years to like really sink in. And then finally he called me. He's like, all right, man, I'm ready. Give me a shot. Give me, let's have a conversation about what you can offer. And then we hired him, and he became the rep. So then now Bill and I used to come to Sturgis. And I want to say between 2016 to 2018, I missed 1 Sturgis. And the only Sturgis I missed was because the IPCPR, which is the big tobacco trade show, 1 year was in New Orleans, and it was the exact same dates as Sturgis. And even though I wanted to go to Sturgis, they're like, nah, we need you at IPCPR. So that's the only one I missed that year. But yeah, I mean, I was there, and Bill and I would talk, and I'm like, yeah, like, I think I got like 10 more years at Drew Estate, and then I'm just going to retire. I'm thinking about buying, Vaughn is getting a little older, and, she's probably going to sell whatever. I'm thinking about talking to her about buying the store, and I'm going to move to South Dakota and then run the store, and that's going to be my retirement plan. And then, I got blindsided because all of a sudden Bill leaves Drew Estate, and he's like, hey, guess what? I bought Deadwood. I'm like, what? Yeah. So needless to say, I've known Bill for a while.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Well, and I had the pleasure of meeting you at the PCA 23 right after you started there, and a couple of fun things about Fabien. Here's one that I was prefaced before we went down there. You were kind enough to take us out, myself and Grimes and Bill, to dinner. Bill said, "Don't say something looks good on the menu, because if you just say it looks good, you're going to have 3 of them in front of you." And that's exactly what happened. You're like, oh, look at that. That's all right. And then it's just, I mean, I've never seen, I thought you were like the class nerd in the front row. You raised your hand so often. It's like 3 of those. Keep them coming. So you must have a hollow leg, because you're not.
Hey, you're my guest, man. You're my guest. I don't want you to leave the meal full.
No, yeah, of course.
Randy, I can't tell you the number of times that I sat right in that porch with Fabien, and he brings out more sausages, more meat, more of everything than I have ever seen. And one of my fondest memories of the rally working with Fabien in the old store was he comes back in with, I mean, there had to be 8 huge chocolate shakes. And I said, man, you had to get the big one. And he's like, I don't walk down the street with anything small. Just the way he rolls, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you're not a small dude. So how tall are you, Fabien?
I'm 6'3".
Okay.
Even though I feel like I'm shrinking, I mean, I turned 50 last year, and I think I'm like 6'2 3/4 now, So I lost a quarter of an inch somewhere.
It happens. It happens. So Bill tells us a story one time where you had 12 brats in one sitting.
Yeah.
Was it a contest, or you just have a hollow leg?
No. Listen, I love brats, man. I mean, it's just so delightful. It's like the dessert meat, So, and especially when they're different. Now, I won't eat the jalapeno ones or the habano, the mango habanero ones, like not the spicy. I'm all about the regular brats or the cheese, the cheesy brats or whatever. But that's what I'm about. I love sausages, and needless to say, I stop when I need to go to the bathroom. So in that time it was just 12. It was 12 sausages.
So we got to come up with a different nickname, because no longer Dirty Fabien, but I don't know. There's got to be some sort of a meat pun.
It's Brat Man.
Brat Man Fabien. Well, Ethan, there we go. We'll just set up the grill right outside the back door here, and there you go. We'll get everybody fed up.
I love it.
So we're looking at the event coming up this weekend. You're going to be in the store Friday and Saturday. Also,
that's right.
our good buddy and yours, I'm sure, Mr. Shorty Rossi, will be here as well, hanging out with Aries, having a good time.
I almost tripped over him last time I didn't see him.
It happens. It happens.
And I got a great story about Rossi.
Okay.
So he's for the life of me, I can't remember what year it was, but it was somewhere between 2013 and 2017. Okay. And I've known him because he comes to Sturgis and this and that, whatever. And he does a great job for the rescue, the dogs and whatnot. And he shows up at one of the IPCPRs. And during that time, I'm a big fan of 80s rock. Journey is my favorite band. And there was a musical played at the Venetian called Rock of Ages. And the Rock of Ages is a musical based out of this mythological bar called the Bourbon Room, which is in North Hollywood. The Bourbon Room, if you really want to go to North Hollywood and see, it's actually the Viper Room for real, but they couldn't use the name, so it's the Bourbon Room. So they also had a bar at the Bourbon Room, and I became very friendly with two of the waitresses. One I can't remember. The other one, her name is Stephanie, and I told them that I come here all the time. I love the 80s, so I'm gonna bring people. We're gonna drink. We're gonna have a lot of drinks. Can I get a little roped off area? So they literally got some rope, like little velvet ropes, and they roped off the little area. And for PCA and IPCPR, our TDA show, because they keep throwing new letters every 3 years.
Yep.
We're there for like 6-7 days. So the first night I got room for like 6 people, and then 20 people show up. So then the next night I got room for 15 people. There's 30 people that show up, to the point where on the 7th day I literally had half the bar was roped off, and it was for me. So It's one of those nights, and Rossi comes in. And with his dog, and I think it was Hercules at the time. Was it Hercules? Yeah, I think it was Hercules.
Sounds
he had
right.
the dog Hercules. Yeah. So Hercules and Shorty come in, and all right, cool, we're hanging out, this and that, whatever. Pedro Gomez from Drew Estate's there. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people there, and Shorty starts doing 1, 2 shots, 3 shots, this and that, whatever. And then it's like 3:00 in the morning, and he's stumbling, right? So we're like, well, what's the deal? Like, how are you gonna get to your room? And Pedro and I get an idea. It's like, here, we're just gonna put Shorty on the back of Hercules. We're gonna look for the keys. We're gonna look for the keys so we know what room he is. So we dug in his pocket. We got the room key, and then literally we put like Shorty on the back of Hercules, kind of like we're like Western lawman who captured someone, and we're walking Hercules back to the room. We open the room. Hercules goes in the room, and then the door closes, right? So we're like, okay, cool. The next day, Shorty comes to see me in the booth, and he's like, man, what a wild night. It's like, I woke up on the floor in my hotel room, and I don't know what happened.
Oh, if only there was footage of that back in the day. That's hilarious. Yeah, Shorty's a great guy. He'll be here hanging out with us, having a good time as well. Wild Bill days. So you said most of the time when you were out here with Drew Estates was during rally. Have you ever done a Wild Bill days out here?
I've never done a Wild Bill Days. I've been to all those Sturgis rallies, and then I also used to come to St. Patrick's Day, and that's when we used to launch Sweet Jane because Sweet Jane launched in St. Patrick's Day and then sold out when it sold out after usually late August, September, October. So I've done those are the only two that I've been to.
This is going to be a fun one too. It's so they got live country bands on Main Street for free. I believe we've got Pam Tillis and Aaron Tippin are the two headliners Friday and Saturday. We've got Whiskey Rio here at the bar, sticking with the country theme, and they have right outside our door, literally at the new shop, which you have not been to yet. We're right across.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Right across from the Franklin, they've got the Dock Dog competitions, where they have this like 30-yard inflatable big pool and then this long dock where they throw the toys, and then they have a retriever thing, they have a speed one, they have a height one. Yeah, so it's going to be, maybe we can get, now Aries is going to be hanging out. Maybe we can get Aries to do it, but I mean, he's a big boy, but I don't think there's a lot of height. He's more like the Charles Barkley of pit bulls.
Yeah. I saw that during COVID when there was no sports on ESPN. They had that competition on there a couple times. I saw that. They throw some like plastic duck out or something. And then they go nuts. Yeah, it'll be a good time. So we're looking at our product list here. Grimes just sent us some of the stuff that we're getting, and we talked about it briefly a little bit earlier. The Aganorsa Leaf Anniversario, that's Connecticut, the Corojo, and the Maduro. But wait, I got a question for you.
Sure.
So at Sturgis, the whole street is lined up with bikes, both sides. So in Western days, is the whole street like lined up with horses?
It's not quite that much. There's probably a cleanup issue involved in that.
Man, I'm not coming then. I was told there's going to be a lot of horses.
There'll still be some horses. You know what else follows the horses? The buckle bunnies. So we'll have a few of those. Sparkle jeans.
The buckle bunnies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I know you're.
I thought it was horse flies, but okay. All right.
Do you know what a buckle bunny is, Fabien?
No, I don't.
All right. Ethan, do you want to tell them or should I?
I mean, go ahead, man.
All right. So it's a big rodeo, obviously, here in town. And this weekend's, as we were recording this, is professional bull riding in town. So we get a little country out in the Wild West a couple of times a year. So a buckle bunny, for lack of a better term, is a young lady who dresses very stylishly, normally lots of rhinestones and sparkly things on their jeans and boots and cowboy hats. And they have a tendency to, let's just say, follow and be engaged with the cowboys when they're in town. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So buckle bunnies, they are very, very fun to look at and talk to. They're hilarious.
Man, those women, like every once a month, they have like a new wardrobe, right? I mean, because a month later, they're wearing nothing but like assless chaps and like pasties.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I got you.
Yeah, but unfortunately, during rally, the people that choose to wear the assless chaps and pasties are not the ones you want to wear them.
No. For every great-looking one, you've had to swim through 17 bad ones, and you can't erase those memories from your head.
You can't. No.
It's like that. It's like that one lady in that movie with What's Up, Mary, or What About Mary?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. When that old lady opens up and she's like topless, it's like, yeah. That's what it is. All you young guys who want to go to Sturgis, that's what you have to look forward to.
Come on down. They're grand cougars. They'll take care of you though. So what type of products are you excited about bringing in for Wild Bill Days? And anything new or exciting in the portfolio that's really got you pumped up?
The thing is this year was like really jacked up because this was the first time where the PCA or IPCPR or RTDA show is not in the summer. Yep. It was actually in March. Mm-hmm. So within 9 months, we had 2 PCA shows. Yep. And the PCA show is usually when all the manufacturers release product. But unfortunately, it takes about a year to 18 months to come up with a new product.
Sure.
So there a lot of our stuff. A lot of the stuff from different manufacturers and us are like kind of behind because we're ready to release them, towards the end of the summer like usual. Now, I will tell you, we have changed that here at Aganorsa. Next year, the PCA show is going to be in April, and we are we are finalizing the packaging for the product that we will be releasing next year. Next year is going to be a big year for Aganorsa. So hint. More news to come later, but it's going to be a big year, so we're excited. We're excited about it and whatnot. As far as the product that I brought, I'm excited about the new Cuba Superior because it's flying off the shelves, and people who understand what it is really enjoy it, and it's at a very reasonable price too. I mean, it's not very expensive. Mm-hmm. And talking about very expensive, I mean, the Anniversario line is anywhere between $15 to $18 a stick, sure. Which is it's almost like norm now, right? I mean, like 8 years ago. It's like $10, and that.
All right.
That's what happens. See, he starts talking about pricing,
yeah.
And the bosses at Aganorsa, they're like, well, let's just shut this guy off. Might be the only way to get Fabien to be quiet. We'll give him a second to come back in, and while we do that, Ethan, we'll just transition into what was going to be segment 2, which we can cut off at any time.
Okay.
This morning, as we record this podcast, which is a little bit early for the weekend,
yep.
We launched a new website.
We did.
Exciting news. It's been something we've been working on for a long time, and the timing is always not perfect for everybody involved, and Ethan was getting ready to go on a wonderful vacation to Hawaii and enjoy and relax, and then all of a sudden, was it 30 hours before your flight left? You're like, hey, can we get all of this?
No, I was actually there. It was our first day in Hawaii, and they're like, dude, we need all the digital assets and yada yada. And I'm like, oh, great. I did it on the fly, and so I had to relook up everything and find download links, and it was fun.
Quite the fun. Exactly what you wanted to spend your first day of vacation.
Precisely.
But the launch is live now, and when this one comes out, this podcast comes out, a couple of the kinks will be worked out. But the good news about it is our intention with the new website is increased visibility and searchability for our product line that we know you guys have been looking for.
Yes.
We take a lot of calls in the shop about, hey, I want to buy this, I want to buy this. Website was acting up. Long story about why it didn't work out. But now on there, in addition to all of our regular stuff, which would be all of our cigars, of course, mm-hmm. and our pipe accessories and our store accessories, coming up soon will be all the ashtrays and lighters and stuff like that.
Yep.
We're going to incorporate a lot more of what you and I spend a lot of our time in the shop working with our podcast and the YouTube channel and the
yes.
live music calendar and special events. And it's going to be a little bit more user-friendly as far as, hey, look, right there is going to be our Instagram feed.
Yep.
Right there will be the latest podcast, plus all 50, at this point, 56 that we've done before, that type of thing. So excited to give you a little bit more of an enhanced offering on the website.
Not only more convenience when it comes to the website store, but the reason why you'd come to Deadwood in the first place, which is the music scene, the events, and all of that stuff, and all of the stuff that we do to support and help out and reinforce what it is that's going on in the shop.
And on there, you'll be able to find the calendar just as long as we have it booked out. As you look at it, we're probably going to have a couple of holes here or there without a band announced because we're always trying to find somebody new, somebody who's traveling through. We try to give you the best experience. Of course, we are still a bar that focuses on blues most of the time. As with this weekend, it is Wild Bill Days.
Yep.
Days is later in July. So we're going to do a little bit of country with Whiskey Rio, but all that will be up there. In addition, what I've noticed, Ethan, and you've been here a lot longer, is that the number of people who follow our stuff religiously and basically always ask me questions about our lives and the shit that goes on at the shop. And we'll be able to highlight a lot more of that too.
Yeah.
Mostly the shit that goes on at the shop. Yeah. Is Stash really that grumpy? Yeah. Is the kid that big of a nerd? Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah.
What's Grimes really like? Well, just go talk to him. He's the angry gnome over in the corner.
Yeah. We're going to be releasing some new films this summer that will be able to highlight and give some inside perspective on us.
Yeah, and it's going to be a fun time, and we always do appreciate, we did a live broadcast of this podcast for our 50th.
Yep.
It would have been about a little over 6 weeks ago or so. We're going to do another one of those coming up, tentatively scheduled for episode number 60. Don't hold us to that. There's some technology involved that we'll get figured out. And then if you haven't seen it, just recently within the last week, Ethan released a video short that he created and directed called The Poker Game. Tell them a little bit about what they can check out on with that one.
Man, it's just kind of fun. A few of these features are just simply for aesthetic value. So I just thought, man, being a gambling town.
So I got so excited. I don't know what happened, like stuff froze or whatnot. I gave you plenty of time to run your advertisements and all that stuff there and whatnot. Now we're back.
All we did was talk about the website, and then I said that your bosses pulled the plug because you started talking about pricing, and they're like, ah. Joining us once again, Fabien from Aganorsa. Leaf is back. So when I first started here, Fabien, as I was getting acclimated, you know Bill very well. He does a lot of training, and we were going through stuff. One thing that I learned, and fill me in on this, was that Aganorsa has historically been primarily a producer, and their tobacco is used in literally hundreds and hundreds of cigars. But then, more recently, they've transitioned to obviously still supplying the tobacco worldwide, but then their own cigars. So tell us a little bit about that transition and how you think that's changed what the company's about.
Okay, so what he said is absolutely correct. Our tobacco is used in hundreds and hundreds of cigars because we literally make hundreds and hundreds of cigars. So we use our own tobacco. Mm-hmm. Now, so in a sense, Aganorsa is a pseudo short name of the farm in Nicaragua, which is the full name is Agricola Granadera Norca SA, but it's a lot easier to say Aganorsa. And so Agricola Norca SA first started in the mid to late 1990s, mm-hmm. and by Eduardo Fernandez, and he bought some land and bought some farms and started growing tobacco. And so he started growing and fermenting and selling a lot of tobacco. And like I said earlier, you know, next year is a big year for us because 20 years ago or 19 years ago from this year, 20 years from next year, their first line called JFR, mm-hmm. just for a retailer, was sold. So in 2005, that's when they started making cigars, and the way it was made is Paul Palmer went around with a roller, brought over the roller from Cuba and his wife, and they went around and they started doing rolling cigar events in stores and created blends, and because those were made in stores and sold in stores, JFR, just for retailers.
Gotcha.
And that's how JFR was created, and now here for big tobacco historians. Can anyone name me the roller that Paul Palmer brought from Cuba and worked with for about a year and a half?
Is it a heritage name that we would recognize in the industry? Obviously,
it is. Okay. It's. Do you want a clue?
Sure.
Okay, it's not your father; it's my father.
All right, Ethan.
Yes, Pepin Garcia.
He's the guy, man.
Don Pepin. That's the roller that they brought it over from Cuba. Him and his wife.
Really?
And they did all these events and all these rolling events and whatnot. Now, a couple years later, Pepin went and he did his own thing, and then we kept doing our stuff. We focused a lot of our focus is on the tobacco because we're the largest grower of tobacco in Nicaragua. In the industry, we're second only to Plasencia.
Wow.
And Plasencia grows in Nicaragua, but they also grow in Honduras.
Sure.
But for this conversation, we're only talking about Nicaragua. So put Honduras to the side. We're the largest, and Plasencia is about 70% our size.
Sure.
So we're 30% bigger. But the problem is the size that they have in Nicaragua equals the size they have in Honduras. So it makes them far, far number one, right?
So interesting.
So here's some of the brands that we sell our tobacco to. So we sell the number one purchaser is Altadis. Mm-hmm. And some of you guys may know what Altadis is. Some of you guys may not. Altadis does brands like Monte Cristo, Romeo and Julieta, Upman. I mean, there's a whole bunch of those lines.
Yep.
And if any of those Altadis products say it has Nicaraguan tobacco, that Nicaraguan tobacco is ours.
Wow.
Okay.
Very good.
So, number two, a small little company called Drew Estate is the second biggest purchaser of our tobacco. So whether you've smoked the Undercrown, the Liga Privada, or the Acid, that has Aganorsa tobacco in there.
Wow.
Number three is J.C. Newman and Fuente. Mm-hmm. So again, all the cigars that are made in the Fuente factory that have Nicaraguan leaves, that Nicaraguan is ours. JC Newman also uses some for the Brick House. That's Aganorsa. And here's a crazy thing. And I know I always get like blowback every time I say this, but I'll give you the explanation in right afterwards. The fourth biggest purchaser of our tobacco is Padron.
Wow.
All right.
Fabian, how many farms? How many farms are you talking about?
Here's the thing, because I do these, I talk to people and I'm always a group of 5, 10, 15, whatever, and there's always that one Padron lover that no, you're BS, you're spreading your fake news. Padron has their own farms. This is not whatever. I'm like, yeah, listen, buddy, take this for fake news. So yes, Padron has their own farms, but Padron in the last 20 years have roughly made about the same amount of cigars. They're happy to make a certain amount of cigars, and maybe sometimes they make more thousands than 24 than 60 64s. Maybe they make 26s sometimes. Maybe they make other stuff, but they make around the same amount of cigars every year.
Sure.
So when they grow the tobacco, they grow X amount of tobacco, and then when they sort their tobacco, then of course when they're sorting, they're always hoping to get a lot more wrapper, and the wrapper, it's the beautiful leaves, the very shiny leaves, the leaves that don't have the big veins, no imperfections. Those are wrapper, and any of those leaves that have anything else, those become binder. So there is never a thing of, and again, I'm not here to tell you I've talked to every single farmer, I've talked to every single tobacco producer and whatnot, but I've spoken to a lot of people in Nicaragua, a lot of people in Dominican, and few people in Honduras, and I've even spoken to a few people in Cuba. So I have a lot of information backing what I'm about to say. There's no such thing as, when you're sorting for binder wrapper, there's no such thing as a 50-50 yield. Meaning, if you do, you have the world's worst sorters, because the goal is always to get more wrapper, right?
Yeah.
But here sometimes the elements go against you, because the wrapper is very, tobacco is very fickle, right? So sometimes if it rains during the day, and in Nicaragua it usually rains 1 hour a day, from between November to about May, 1 hour a day, and then from May to December, then it rains like pretty much 20 hours a day. So it's like the rainy season and the dry season. So of course tobacco is grown during the dry season, but when that hour of rain, most of the rain comes at night, which is the perfect time to go, because if you have rain during the day, you have raindrops that stay on the leaves, and then the sun comes out, and then it burns, or it makes a watermark on the leaf, and that's not a wrapper leaf. Yep, that's a binder leaf.
Wow.
So every year after Padron grabs all their tobacco and ferments it and then sorts it, they will call us and they'll go, okay, this year we need to buy binder from you. We're happy when they call us and they go, we need to buy wrapper from you, because then we can charge them a little bit more. Sure. But since 2004, they've been buying either binder or wrapper from us. And it's always been about the same amount of leaves, same amount of tobacco, because they're happy making that X amount of cigars. So yeah, so they're now the question is why do they buy from you and not someone else? Because literally all their farms, we own the farms that are right next door. So there's a small little dirt path that separates their farm from our farm. So it's to the closest soil composition from lot to lot is our tobacco with their tobacco.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Very good. There's the nugget for the podcast. So you learn something new every day.
Yeah, fascinating.
And at the same time, we make a lot of Illusion cigars. We make a few lines for Gurkha. Up until 2 months ago, we made 2 lines for Foundation. We don't make those lines anymore. He decided to go somewhere else. We used to make HVC, but then HVC bought their own little factory like 3 years ago, but they still buy tobacco from us. So now our tobacco just made in their factory. We make pretty much all of Viaje, and then we make pretty much all of Warp.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So have you seen, since the year that you have been there, the rise of your not personal, but your Aganorsa lines as far as your releases? How has the reception been, and how much of the business side of Aganorsa are your own product lines, like your JFRs, your new Cubas, your Aganorsa Aniversarios versus?
So like the illusions and the warped and all that, they don't necessarily go in our numbers.
Right.
They go into the factory number, right? So, but I can tell you in the year, year over year, we're up about 11%. So
Okay.
so we're excited. We're selling a lot more cigars, and whatnot. Here's another little crazy tidbit about our company. You guys are in stores every day, or at least 5 days a week, or whatever. What's the best selling size?
For us, typically Robusto.
Robusto. Okay. All right. So you're an oddity because the rest of the world it's Toro.
Okay.
Okay. Now, but Robusto in the whole world, Toro's number one, Robusto's number two, and then 3 years ago, the 6x60 actually surpassed the Corona.
Really?
3 years ago. Okay. Now, if you look at our top 10 selling SKUs, I'm willing to put my house up for on a bet. I believe we're the only manufacturer. If you look at all manufacturers' top 10 SKUs, we do not have a single Toro or Robusto in our top 10.
Really?
We're known for big ring gauges. I mean, our number one selling cigar is the JFR Maduro 6x60. Our second best selling cigar is the Lunatic 8x80 Maduro.
Holy cow!
Really? So what
Yeah.
do you attribute that to? For example, on the retailer side, when we have people come in to smoke, oftentimes there's a time constraint. They are here for a certain amount of time because we're primarily a tourist destination. Maybe their wives are out gambling or shopping and they've got an hour or 45 minutes to smoke. But you're saying that in the industry at large, the bigger ring gauges, the longer smoke is becoming more of the norm. That's real interesting.
So for us, because we are one of the very few vertical companies, what I mean by that is we're literally from seed to ash. So we do everything. So there's no middleman in our. So our bigger ring gauge cigars are very price conscious. So for instance, of course, every state has different tobacco taxes and this and that, whatever, and that we can't do anything about it.
Yep.
But our MSRP for a 8x80 Maduro is $15.
There you go.
So not necessarily that, it's not the guys who smoke cigars every day. This and that. Those are not the guys that are going to smoke the 8x80, but it's the guys who they look at a Toro and it's $15, and then they look at an 8x80 and then they're like, that's $15. Oh, I'm going to get a lot more out of that. And then if you really look at it leaf wise, that 8x80 has the same amount of tobacco as 4 Toros.
It's packed, man.
Yep. Yeah,
Packed.
absolutely. Which leads to some of the stuff that we have coming in for this weekend with you for Wild Bill Days here. The JFR Lunatic, the Locos, and the Loquito. So those are 60 and 70 ring gauges. Shorter, more of a typical what you would call a nub size. It's kind of the common language that people have asked about. And then we've also got coming up here the short tightened in the Lunatic Maduro. The short Robusto, a little bit smaller, 52, I believe, on that one. So we'll have some of those examples here as well.
Perfect. Yeah, and then it's they come in Maduro and Habano, and I mean they're good to go. I mean, really nice sticks. They're more medium plus to full. The Lunatic line is that's medium plus to full. I know you guys have been selling for a long time, or ever since you guys opened up with us, which was at the PCA last year, actually. So yeah, thank you very much for your support. You guys have been selling a JFR sampler.
Correct.
And the JFR sampler is actually a really, really good deal because it's
Super good deal, man.
one
Absolutely.
Connecticut, one Maduro, and 2 Corojos. And they're all super Toros, 6.5x52s. It's a nice little bag. And I don't know, you probably sell it for like $27-$30 or whatever. So, it's a good deal.
Yep, right in that range. And it's a great way to get people familiar with the portfolio, have a little bit of sample of everything in there, which is great. And then last year's PCA 2023 was when we brought home from the shop, you gave it to Grimes, the insane Lunatic 10 by 100.
10 by 100. Yes.
The size that shall not be named. Yeah, it was, I think it took him 5.5 hours on shift to smoke that, but he got through most of it. Yeah.
Well, that's an average smoke right there. It's 5.5 to 6.5 hours.
Holy
the
cow.
crazy thing is there's this one dude in North Carolina, in Raleigh, who smoked it in 2 hours in 7 minutes.
Oh, you just got to be puffing the entire time.
Yeah.
And then he was pissed off at himself, and he's like, I could do better. He's like, he wanted to break the 2 hour mark. So the very next day, he smoked it in an hour and 49 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And right after that, he's like, oh, I still have time for a 6x60. and the dude, literally, the dude is the size of Bill.
Oh, geez.
It's not a big guy.
Dude.
It's not a big guy. It's it's an average size guy, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I did an event like about a month ago, and he showed up, and he's like, oh, this is the guy. This is the guy. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. But
Very
yeah.
nice. Speaking of those bigger sizes and that type of thing, what if you follow? Oh, it's what Fabien smokes, right? That's your IG handle, or smoke what Fabien.
Smoke what Fabien smokes.
Yep. So make sure you check that out, and you'll see prevalent on there all of the new products, the visits to the factory, but your trademark Aganorsa Flex. Tell us a little bit about how that came around.
So that's a thing that Terrence Riley, who used to work for Casada about 6 years ago, then he got hired at Aganorsa, and at that time Aganorsa was under the name of Casa Fernandez.
Okay.
And so people got confused with AJ Fernandez, Casa Fernandez, Jose Fernandez, all the Fernandezes. There's too many Fernandezes. It's like Smith. It's Smith or Jones in the U.S. It's Patel in India. Yep. It's like Nguyen, in Asia. I mean, there's too many Fernandezes. So that's when he took the name of the farm and it became Aganorsa. And the motto that he came up with, our leaf is our strength. So our logo is the flex, and in the hand, the hand actually holds a bunch of tobacco, and a bunch is literally 50 leaves. From when you take the leaves off the plant in the field, and then you put them in a bunch, which is literally 50 leaves, and then you hang them in the dry curing barns. When they turn green to brown, that's a bunch of leaf, and that's our logo. Is the flex holding a bunch, and our leaf is our strength is our leaf. So that's how.
Here's our proposition to you because of that, and I remember the Aganorsa Flex. You guys have, and I've seen it on your IG a little bit, you've got this great baseball jacket, like an old Letterman's jacket with the leather sleeves and Aganorsa on the front, right? Yeah.
Yes.
You have any of those laying around?
No.
All right. We'll take a rain check, but we know how to order one. Here's my proposition. You ready?
Yeah.
We're going to have an arm wrestling contest here at the shop.
That would be epic.
And we're going to put one of our DTC Carhartt work jackets up against one of yours, but you have to beat 3 of the 5 team members.
Wait, so I have to do this thing 5 times, and each of you guys are doing it once?
Have you met our staff? I mean, you and I are the only ones over 6 foot. So
so make sure you call in sick that day.
Yeah, it'll be the kid who is let's just say not of an active physical sports guy, the preacher who is a slight build. We've got Grimes who's got a little bit of a beer gut on him.
Yeah, and then you got the thumb. I'm scared of the thumb.
The thumb.
The thumb. Yeah. But we won't let him thumb wrestle. We'll actually let him arm wrestle. So then, you beat 3 out of the 5 of us, and we'll give you our jacket. That's the plan.
All right. Well, it's funny. The last time I arm wrestled was actually in junior high school, and I got suspended. Yes, it's actually a funny story. My junior year, so 8th grade, I was kind of a jokester, this and that, whatever, and I had this great, craziest idea to see who was the arm wrestling champ, and we started at the beginning of the year. I literally took the name of every single guy and a few girls who wanted to partake, and we did like a tournament bracket, and every day, like during lunch, we would do like 3 or 4. So as the months would go by, we'd go to the 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, this and that, whatever. Unbeknownst, to when it's like literally 3 weeks before the end of the year, and graduating 8th grade and this and that, whatever, I'm in the finals against this guy Dennis. Okay. Now, when I tell you Dennis, it could have been Lou Ferrigno or the Incredible Hulk's son. I'm giving him not even enough credit. I mean, that dude was stacked. So as we're there, and the whole crowd in the lunch tables, my class, there's about 300 and some kids in my class. All of a sudden, they're all standing on the lunch tables and this, that, whatever. And here I am with my arm, and then Dennis is right here. And then I got my little Filipino friend Alan. You know, I mean, he got knocked out in the first round, probably in the in the preseason. He got knocked out, but he was kind of like the announcer guy, right? So we kind of, okay, you can announce. So he's holding the hand, and the principal thought there was a fight, and they like right about when Alan was about to release his hand and us to go, the principal comes, you. So he points to me. He goes, you to Dennis, and then he goes, you to Alan. He's like, come to the principal's office. So my buddy Alan got he got suspended. Like the three of us got suspended for like 1 day for creating whatever we. I mean, it was insane. But yeah, I mean, we never found out if I won. I probably would have lost. Let's just say I probably would have lost. But yeah, I mean, you know, I was arm wrestling the Hulk's kid. You know, I mean, well, you say that, but yeah, that was the last time I arm wrestled anyone.
Oh, perfect. All right, then I'm feeling good about our odds. Everybody, this is Fabien Ziegler, No Longer Dirty. Check him out. Smoke What Fabien Smokes on IG. You can find out all that stuff. We'll have all of his links up on our new website as well. And we're looking forward to hanging out with you Friday and Saturday. It's going to be a great time for Wild Bill Days, and we're actually great to have you finally come up and see the new shop. It's
yes.
It's quite the arrangement, and
I can't wait, man. I might even show up on Thursday.
Oh, perfect.
So, you know, yes.
Ethan,
but yeah.
What do you tell people, Ethan, when they come in and they say, "Man, I really miss the old shop"?
I just say, I don't. The old shop.
Listen,
sucked.
the old shop had charm, right? It had something.
Oh
but
my gosh.
when you had 7 people smoking cigars in the old shop, you could barely see each other.
Yep.
Fabien, when it was
And
over,
I think I was, you know, I think I'm not a truth sayer or I know the future, but I had a dream that I was going to die when I was 89 years old. And because of all the days that I spent in the basement at Deadwood, I think now I'm going to die when I'm 82. So it cut off 7 years out of my life.
Dude.
So I'm glad you guys moved. So I'm looking
let me
forward to it,
just
man.
say, it didn't have the best heating and cooling. Let me just say, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, exactly. All those problems are solved.
Yeah.
Great smoke ventilation in here, 6,000 square feet, stage, humidor. Hey, bathrooms, that's fun.
Imagine
a
that.
whole big cooler, all that fun stuff. So,
Even though I enjoyed peeing in the hole in the back.
Dude.
I had the honor a couple of times too, because I'm like, I don't want to walk up those damn stairs.
And then one time I could have sworn something moved, and then I'm like, is this place haunted? They're like, yeah, of course. I'm like, that's the last time I ever peed. Because I was scared that the next time I was going to go pee in the hole, so the spirits were going to push me in.
Scratch your
And that
eyes
thing
out.
was, and that hole was pretty deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So don't drink the water. It's got a little bit of an extra in there.
Yep.
All right, Fabien, thanks very much. And a wonderful hat, by the way. Thanks for dressing the part. Sorry, Bill couldn't be here today, and all of the rest of the crew, but we had a wonderful time. Looking forward to sampling the new Cuba Superior, of course, and all the wonderful products from Aganorsa, JFR, just for retailers. Learned that one new today as well.
Yep.
And he'll be here Friday and Saturday. Come on down. He'll have a great time. And just briefly again, tell us just about the rolling that you have, or those road samples that you're going to do.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna have a few of these little fumas, and that's literally for those people who they enjoy cigars, and as they're enjoying cigars and they're talking to other manufacturers, and every other manufacturer is gonna go, hey, smoke my cigar. It's a very well balanced cigar. Well, what does that mean? After this little experience, you will truly understand what a well balanced cigar is, and you will now be more knowledgeable as a cigar smoker to go into your local brick and mortar store, Deadwood Tobacco, of course, and recommend or ask for something, and most likely you're gonna have a 99.99993% chance of enjoying what they're gonna give you, because now you know what you're asking for. So looking forward to seeing all you guys out there. I'll be there, Friday, Saturday, and maybe Thursday a little bit, but Friday, Saturday, looking forward to it. It's gonna be epic. It's gonna be as Terrence Riley always says, it'll be the best day of your life.
And I think that there you go. Since Shorty's going to join us as well, I think we might have to do some shots and see if he can ride Aries home. That's a long walk this time.
Long walk.
Perfect.
Don't go anywhere, Fabien. We'll be right back with you in just 1 second. But right now, we're just going to sign off on episode 57 of the Deadwood Tobacco Company Blow and Smoke podcast. For Ethan, the preacher, back behind the board, mixing and mastering, and the entire DTC team, I am Eye Candy Randy. Thanks for spending time with us. Like, follow, subscribe, and comment. All of our socials and all of these podcasts will be up on our new website. Make sure you check that out as well. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with episode number 58, DTC Blow and Smoke Podcast.
You need it.